Imagine a time when America was at a crossroads of spiritual awakening and material prosperity, seeking to reconcile its burgeoning intellectual landscape with ancient philosophies from across the world. In this pivotal era, Swami Vivekananda emerged as a transformative figure, bridging Eastern mysticism and Western pragmatism. Welcome back to our series on the remarkable life of Swami Vivekananda. In this episode, we explore the rich tapestry of American history, from its colonial religious roots to the spiritual and intellectual ferment of the 19th century. As America evolved into a powerhouse of material progress, it also grappled with its spiritual identity. Swami Vivekananda's arrival at this crucial juncture offered a fresh perspective, blending the spiritual wisdom of India with the pragmatic spirit of America. Join us as we delve into this fascinating intersection of cultures and ideas and see how Vivekananda's teachings resonated with a nation at the cusp of transformation. Religion had played an important part from the very beginning of American colonial history. The Pilgrims who crossed the Atlantic in the Mayflower and landed on the barren coast of Cape Cod in November 1620 were English people who had first left England and gone to Holland for freedom of worship. Later, they were joined by other dissenters who could not submit to the restrictions placed upon their religious beliefs by the English rulers of the time. These were the forebears of the sturdy, religious-minded New Englanders who, 2 centuries later, became the leaders of the intellectual and spiritual culture of America. Swami Vivekananda found among their descendants many of his loyal and enthusiastic followers. Both the Holy Bible and the philosophy of Locke influenced the Bill of Rights and the American Constitution. Leaders imbued with the Christian ideal of the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of men penned the second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence, which clearly set forth its political philosophy, namely, the equality of men before God, the state, and society. Thomas Paine, one of the high priests of the American Revolution, was an uncompromising foe of tyranny and an upholder of human freedom. The same passion for equality, freedom, justice, enduring peace, and righteousness was later to permeate the utterances of the great Lincoln. The political structure of America shows the sagacity and lofty idealism of her statesmen who built up the country after the War of Independence. The original 13 colonies, which had wrested freedom from England, gradually became the United States of America. The architects of the American government might have created, following the imperialistic pattern of England and American Empire, with the original 13 states as a sort of mother country and the rest as her colonies. But instead, the newly acquired territories received complete equality of status. It may also be mentioned that, with the exception of the Mexican War of 1845, America has never started a war. Within 100 years of her gaining independence, America showed unprecedented material prosperity. The country's vast hidden wealth was tapped by European immigrants, who brought with them not only the flavor of an older civilization, but technical skill, indomitable courage, and the spirit of adventure. Scientists and technologists flooded the country with new inventions. Steamboats, a network of railroads, and various mechanical appliances aided in the creation of new wealth. Towns grew into cities. As big business concerns expanded, workmen and mechanics formed protective organizations. Ambitions stirred everywhere, and men's very manners changed with the new haste and energy that swept them on. Material prosperity was accompanied by a new awakening of men's minds and consciousness. Jails were converted into penitentiary systems based upon humanitarian principles, and anti-slavery societies were inaugurated. During the 5 years between 1850 and 1855 were published some of the greatest books in American literature, hardly surpassed in imaginative vitality. Democracy was in full swing, and it was the people's day everywhere. The crude frontier days were fast disappearing. The Transcendentalist movement, of which Emerson was the leader with Thoreau and Alcott as his associates, brought spiritual India into the swift current of American life. The old and new continents had not been altogether strangers. Columbus had set out to find the short route to India, known far and wide for her fabulous wealth, and had stumbled upon America instead. The chests of tea of the Boston Tea Party, which set off the War of Independence, had come from India. Moreover, the victory of the English over the French in the 18th century colonial wars in India contributed to the success of the American colonists in their struggle for freedom begun in 1775. And finally, Commodore Perry in 1853 made it possible for American merchant ships to trade with the Far East and thus visit Indian coastal towns on their long journeys. The development of Emerson's innate idealism had been aided by the philosophy of Greece, the ethics of China, the poetry of the Sufis, and the mysticism of India. Emerson, a keen student of the Bhagavad Gita, was familiar with the Upanishadic doctrines and published translations of religious and philosophical tracts from the Oriental languages. His beautiful poem, Brahma, and his essay, The Oversoul, show clearly his indebtedness to Hindu spiritual thought. But Emerson's spirit, preeminently ethical and intellectual, could not grasp the highest flights of Hindu mysticism. It accepted only what was in harmony with a somewhat shallow optimism. Emerson's writings later influenced the New Thought movement and Mary Baker Eddy's Christian Science. Thoreau, Emerson's neighbor for 25 years, read and discussed with him in great detail the Hindu religious classics. Thoreau wrote, "I bathe my intellect in the stupendous and cosmogonal philosophy of the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita, in comparison with which our modern world and literature seem puny and trivial." He wanted to write a joint Bible, gathering material from the Asiatic scriptures, and took for his motto, Ex Oriente Lux. Alcott was a genuine friend of Indian culture. He was instrumental in bringing out the American edition of Sir Edwin Arnold's The Light of Asia, and this made the life and teachings of Buddha accessible for the first time to American readers. The Transcendental Club, founded in Concord near Boston, reached its height by 1840. The American Oriental Society was formed in 1842, with aims similar to those of the European Oriental Societies. Walt Whitman, 1819 to 1892, a contemporary of the Concord philosophers, seems to have come very near to Vedantic idealism. There is no reliable evidence to show that Whitman was directly influenced by Hindu thought. He is reputed to have denied it himself. A great religious individualist, he was free from all church conventions and creeds. To him, religion consisted entirely of inner illumination, the secret silent ecstasy. It is not known if he practiced any definite religious disciplines. Most probably he did not. Yet Swami Vivekananda once called Whitman the Sannyasin of America. Leaves of Grass, which Swami Vivekananda read, breathes the spirit of identity with all forms of life. And Whitman's Song of the Open Road is full of the sentiments that were nearest to the heart of Vivekananda. Here, for example, are 3 stanzas. I inhale great draughts of space. The east and the west are mine, and the north and the south are mine. I am larger, better than I thought. I did not know I held so much goodness. Allons, we must not stop here. However sweet these laid-up stores, however convenient this dwelling, we cannot remain here, however sheltered this port, and however calm these waters. We must not anchor here, however welcome the hospitality that surrounds us, we are permitted to receive it but a little while. Allons, be not detained. Let the paper remain on the desk unwritten, and the book on the shelf unopened. Let the tools remain in the workshop. Let the money remain unearned. Let the school stand. Mind not the cry of the teacher. Let the preacher preach in the pulpit. Let the lawyer plead in the court, and the judge expound the law. There are several reasons why the marriage of East and West, dreamt of by Emerson and Thoreau, did not take place. The gold rush of 1849 to California had turned people's attention in other directions. Then had come the Civil War, in which brother had fought brother and men's worst passions had been let loose. Lastly, the development of science and technology had brought about a great change in people's outlook, intensifying their desire for material prosperity. The publication of Darwin's Origin of Species in 1859 changed the Weltanschauung of the Western world, and its repercussions were felt more in the New World than in Europe. Within a decade, intellectual people gave up their belief in the biblical story of creation and did not hesitate to trace man's origin back to an ape-like ancestor, and beyond that, to a primordial protoplasmic atomic globule. The implications of evolution were incorporated into every field of thought, law, history, economics, sociology, philosophy, religion, and art. Transcendentalism was replaced by empiricism, instrumentalism, and pragmatism. The American life current thus was turned into a new channel. When America had been comparatively poor, she had cherished her spiritual heritage. In the midst of her struggle for existence, she had preserved her spiritual sensitivity. But in the wake of the Civil War, the desire to possess bigger and better things cast its spell everywhere. Big utilities and corporations came into existence. The spiritual and romantic glow of the frontier days degenerated into the sordidness of competitive materialistic life. While the unceasing flow of crude immigrants from Europe made difficult the stabilization of American culture. Emerson was disillusioned by the aftermath of the Civil War. He had hoped that in the peace after such a war, a great expansion would follow in the mind of the country. Grand views in every direction, true freedom in politics, in religion, in social science, in thought. But the energy of the nation seems to have expended itself in the war. Walt Whitman was even more caustic. He wrote bitterly, "Society in the States is cramped, crude, superstitious, and rotten. Never was there, perhaps, more hollowness of heart than at present, and here in the United States. Genuine belief seems to have left us. The great cities reek with respectable, as much as non-respectable, robbery and scoundrelism. In fashionable life, flippancy, tepid amours, weak infidelism, small aims or no aims at all, only to kill time. I say that our New World democracy, however great a success in uplifting the masses out of their sloughs in materialistic development and in a certain highly deceptive, superficial popular intellectuality, is so far an almost complete failure in its social aspects. In vain do we march with unprecedented strides to empire so colossal, outvying the antique, beyond Alexander's, beyond the proudest sway of Rome. In vain we annex Texas, California, Alaska, and reach north for Canada or south for Cuba. It is as if we were somehow being endowed with a vast and thoroughly appointed body and left with little or no soul. But the material prosperity or the triumph of science could not destroy the innate idealism of the American mind. It remained hidden like embers under ashes. Thoughtful Americans longed for a philosophy which, without going counter to the scientific method, would show the way to a larger vision of life, harmonizing the diverse claims of science, the humanities, and mystical experience. Now the time was ripe for the fulfillment of Thoreau's dream of the marriage of East and West, a real synthesis of science and religion. And to bring this about, no worthier person could have been found than Swami Vivekananda of India. This accounts for the spontaneous welcome received by this representative of Hinduism, who brought to America an ancient and yet dynamic philosophy of life. In the next episode, we turn our attention to the challenges Swami Vivekananda faced as he continued his mission. From dealing with exploitation by promoters to confronting fierce opponents of religion and materialism, Swami Vivekananda's path was anything but smooth. Join us as we delve into the trials and triumphs of his apostolic campaigns and discover how he navigated the complex landscape of American thought and culture. Thank you for listening till the end. Please subscribe, turn on the notifications, like, comment, and share with your friends. This will help more listeners to discover our channel and content.